Hey there and welcome back to Beginner's Fab. My name is Eric McGrew. I'm the host of the show, and today we're going to talk a little bit about some basic tools. If you watch 15 Minutes with a Pro, my first episode with Max Gramillion from Pool Pal, you'll know that we talked a little bit about what are some of the basic tools that you'll want to have in your garage or in your shop for fabrication. Well, today we're going to talk about a few of the ones that I bought first to get started in fabrication once again after moving back to the US. Just in front of me on the ground, you will see a spread of tools that I have recently purchased to help me get back into the fabrication here in the States. I've never really left fabrication and that kind of stuff. It's just that moving from Chile and getting back here, I had to sell most of my tools, and so I'm restarting, and to do that, I wanted to get a few of the basics and then I can move on from there. So what are some of the basics? Well, we're gonna have to go from what kind of fabrication you're looking at. Now in my case, I'm looking at multiple kinds of fabrication. I'm willing to do farm repair, I'm willing to do sign work, and I'm also willing to do off-road work for off-road vehicles. I'm also willing to do a little bit of furniture building and that kind of stuff if that may be what I need to make a living as well. So you need some very versatile tools, and therefore I bought some tools that maybe some of you wouldn't buy, or maybe some fabricators wouldn't need, but in my case I like to have them around. If you're planning on doing off-road vehicle fabrication for suspensions or bumpers or that kind of stuff, you're going to have to do more than just fabricate. You're going to have to also take the product off the vehicle or put it on the vehicle. So what that means is that you're going to need a few extra tools as well. Don't forget that a good set of hand tools like ratchets and wrenches, that kind of stuff is super important. I don't have any of that laid out here because honestly my kit's not put together again, and I'm trying to get that worked out now. But what I do have in front of me are what I use mainly for metalworking, and let's go over that a little bit. One thing you will notice about the tools that I have here on the ground is that they are varying qualities of tool. Some are a little bit more professional, some of them are very budget, and with that, it just kind of depends on how much I think I will use it or how important that tool is to be extremely precise. Now, I always encourage fabrication to be precise, but depending on what kind of fabrication you're doing determines what kind of time you're going to spend doing the fabrication and what kind of precision you need out of it. So let's start with one of the most important tools you can have, which is a welder. Now I chose a Hobart 210 MVP because it's dual voltage, and over the years I've learned that I just personally prefer Hobart or Miller over Lincoln. Is there anything wrong with a Lincoln welder? No, not in particular. It's just preference. I find that, in my opinion, the Lincolns have a tendency to surge a little bit more, so you get spurts of power and then lulls in power while you're welding. And also I find that they have a tendency, not that all of them do it, but there is somewhat of a tendency for them to burn out their circuit boards within a relatively short period of time, especially if they're used on regular occurrences all day long, and that's what they're used for. So I talked to a bunch of guys in the off-road industry for fabrication, and everybody, I mean 9 out of 10 shops is using Miller. So I went with a Hobart because it's their budget line of Miller, and it was a decent price for the welder that I got here. When I was looking for a welder, one thing that I wanted was it to be able to use dual voltage and to be able to run a gas setup for actual MIG or also flux core. The 210 can handle that. It does dual voltage and it also runs flux core or gas for MIG. Now you can get a 190 version, which is only 230 volt input, and that's a few $100s cheaper than what you'd pay for the 210 version. Down here on the floor you'll also see that I have some MAP gas setups there, and I've had a couple of people ask me why would I be buying MAP gas, and the reality of it is that MAP gas is really beneficial to have around. It's not only beneficial for fabricating, where maybe you want to preheat some metal that maybe you don't have the ability to weld completely in one pass by the power of the machine, which isn't a practice I try to put into play constantly, but at times it's something that you need to do. But it also comes in handy when you want to bend metal and you want it to form in a specific way and you don't have a particular jig, nor do you have the time or the materials to make that kind of jig. So that's another reason I have MAP gas sitting around. On top of all of that, if you have to deal with a customer's vehicle and the vehicle has a lot of rusted bolts, one of the best solutions includes MAP gas. MAP gas, a big hammer, and some PB Blaster or WD-40. With those components, you can get just about any rusted bolt out of any rusted nut or socket, except of course the strut bolt that I had stuck inside the strut sleeve of my 4Runner when I was taking out the front suspension. Down here you'll see that I have these Astro gloves. I just bought these and I'll be doing a review on them, but I like to wear the I think these are actually nitrile or whatever you want to call it, gloves. And I like to wear those under my welding gloves or under my mechanics gloves because they help keep me from having to clean my hands as much when I need to touch something clean and don't want to get everything all greasy. You'll also see that I wear safety glasses, and these particular ones I paid a little bit more for, and I'll go over those, but I like the foam in them, and I also like the way that they have a very clear view on them. And here I have an angle finder, which is really good because it's a multi-purpose square, it says. I use it mainly for angles and I can judge where I'm going from there. I have these big clamps because, well, you're always clamping stuff down to a chassis or to a table or something like that. A big hammer, in this case I usually use around a 3-pound because that's what I can wield easily under a vehicle or in tight spaces. And also I found that the bigger hammers have a tendency to overpower what you're using sometimes. So I find that I use the big sledgehammers much less than I do the small ones. Here you'll see another speed square, and this can also help you find angles. It's a great tool. It's very important to have. And the shoulder on these is nice because it helps you, it'll allow you to grab the edge of tubing when you're using square or rectangular tubing and there's a radius corner on it. In this bag here, you'll see that I have, when I open it up, a number of things. Now these are all cordless tools, but I have a drill, a nut driver, I have a bandsaw, and I have a flashlight in there. And I don't know if I have anything else. I have this reciprocating saw right here. In a future episode, I'll also go over the pros and cons of using the battery-powered tools over using, for instance, a corded a corded tool. They're just differences that each person has to decide on, and honestly, if I have the money for it and I have the preference, I prefer to use both. And if I don't have the money for it, typically I would use or buy corded tools. I just happened to get this kit at a really, really good price, and therefore I bought this kit over the corded stuff. Here you'll see leather gloves. Of course, these are just more construction metalworking leather gloves, and then you have welding gloves. And here I have sleeves. I haven't even opened these up when I probably should have. I've been doing some overhead welding. But the fact is, I like to have them around for when I'm getting heavy into overhead welding and it's going to be popping on me quite a bit. It just saves my arms. It's not necessary, but it's nice to have that extra comfort. The downside to the sleeves is that they make you very hot, so that's something to consider. But once again, we'll go into more of the details about the pros and cons of all these tools one by one in other episodes. Little hand clamps here are, just great because they're fast, they're quick, they're dirty. They are limited, but I picked these up for around 99 cents a piece on a special. So if you find them like that, it's definitely worth the purchase. And then of course here you will see a variety of sanding flap discs like these here on the ground. A grinding disc, which is a composite disc. It's just solid. Basically, it's a fortified cutoff wheel, but much thicker. And then back here, you will see some used and brand new cutoff wheels for your angle grinder. Each one of these has their uses. Each one of them is very important, and there are some others that people like to use that I'm not currently using, but I'll go over the pros and cons of those as well. Here you'll see that I have a Reciprocating Saw Blade Kit, which you can choose your choice. I bought the Diablo kit just to test it out, and they seem to be pretty good, but once again I'll be reviewing those here in the future. Now I only have one jack stand here, but I actually have two, and if you can afford four, even better, because I'm always lifting up a trailer or a truck and putting it on jack stands so that I can work on it safely. I prefer not to use just floor jacks because they can get weak over time, they can seep oil, and they can subtly start lowering on you and you not know it until it's too late. So I like to use a jack plus jack stands. And once again, even though I use high lifts from time to time to get the higher lift, I always try to use jack stands on solid platforms, blocks that are much bigger, something like that. I never trust a high lift or a floor jack to save my life if I'm going to have to be working for long periods of time under vehicle, especially if I'm going to have to be beating on it or shaking it to get stuff into place and that kind of stuff. So once again, we'll go over all this, but keep that in mind. Wire brushes are really important to have around. They help to get rust and stuff off of places that like these wire wheels can't get it off, and so they're good to have as well. These sheet metal vice grips or pressure clamps are really good as well because they can allow you to grab metal and fold it over and bend it and different things like that, or even hold metal in your hand while you need to grind an edge or whatever it might be. So that's a beneficial tool to have around as well. Now going back over here, we have magnets right there, the little red ones. And then we also have tips for your welder, which you'll need those. We have the files here, some vice grips there or pressure pliers. We have a small level and a caliper. All of these are very, very important tools. I use the caliper a lot to measure holes and stuff like that. The level is good to have for leveling out your angles and that kind of stuff in your sheet metal or your angle iron or whatever it is that you're tubing. Make sure it's flat and it didn't warp. These pressure pliers here are just some Harbor Freight ones. They were cheap, but I like them because I can weld and they can get all messed up and I don't mind replacing them from time to time. These files here are also from Harbor Freight, but once again, the quality of the file is good enough to last me for the price that you pay for them, so I don't see paying a whole lot of money on another file right at the moment. Maybe in the future, but at the moment, no. And then over here, you will see that I have a special pair of pliers, which are MIG pliers, and those are actually a Lincoln brand, and I'll go over why I bought Lincoln over the others. And then I have here the angle grinder that I purchased, which I've already done a review on, and you'll see that, or you can go back and see that. It's a Ryobi. It has a twisting handle on it, which is a unique feature and which is the main reason I bought it. And then you'll see I have a face shield here. Well, you may ask, why do I have the glasses and a face shield? The reason for that is because I don't ever trust glasses to keep everything out of my eyes. I've had many pieces of steel taken out of my eye, and when you have that happen once or twice, you start to get a little bit more cautious about how you work on things. So I really like to wear really like to wear safety glasses and a grinding shield all at the same time. And stepping back, I can say there you have most of the tools that I use. I'm still lacking some, but with time and as I get money, I'll get more and more. I've made do with a lot less than this, and this was still a good sum of money. So just keep that in mind. Build up your kit as you go along. Do simple jobs to start with. Learn how to really be better at welding, and I say that because that's what I'm still trying to do, especially learning how to weld on a 115 now. It's like night and day from welding on a 230 in my opinion. Well, at thicker metals. Sheet metal, it burns out pretty good and it can look really nice. And then when you get all of that under control and you start making a little bit of money, then you can start upgrading to other tools like the drop band saws or a drop saw like a cutoff saw. You can go on and get plasma cutters, tube benders, all that kind of stuff. And that's what I hope to be able to do in the future. But until then, I'm starting off with this as we move back in, and I'll let you guys know what I can accomplish with that. First off, I'd like to thank everybody for stopping by and watching this episode of Beginner's Fab once again. I hope you like the show. I hope you continue to come back and check out my other shows. Don't forget to check out my other websites. If you want to check out the actual Beginners Fab website, you can go to beginnersfab.com or bgrfab.com. Please also do not forget to check out Off-Road Independence, where I have my off-road podcast that's now being uploaded only to YouTube, but you can watch it through there. Get a bit of the detail in the website, and also you can check out all the articles on beginnersfab.com and offroadindependence.com that I've written about things that I haven't created videos for. Also, if you're interested, you can support the site and my videos through going to Zazzle.com and buying a t-shirt, stickers, hat, hoodie, whatever it is that you're looking for. You can buy that there, and that'll help support what I'm doing here. If that's not enough and you want something more personal that's more useful for you, then go by and check out the kits that I'm selling, and you can do that through emailing me or checking out some of the posts I've put up on Facebook, and I can actually sell you a do-it-yourself bumper weld-up kit. The kit comes with all the pieces you need. All you have to do is have a welder, have the ability to weld, and then weld it all together, throw it on your truck, well, paint it of course, and then throw it on your truck, and there you have it. A kit that came to you, and you can say that you legitimately fabricated your own bumper. And it helps save all the hassle of trying to figure out certain angles and things like that. So, thanks again for stopping by. I hope to see you in the next episode. And everything that you're doing with fabrication, please be careful. It can be dangerous, but it's a lot of fun. So hang in there.